America's Dairyland. For more than 160 years, Wisconsin's claim to fame has revolved around the state's thriving dairy industry. With more than 1 million cows, 12,000 dairy farms, and 400 dairy plants, milk is the state's economic engine. And while Wisconsin dairy farms come in all shapes and sizes, one method of dairy farming is gaining traction: managed grazing. Today, nearly 1/4 of all dairy farmers in Wisconsin use managed grazing, and a growing number of these farmers are selling their grass-fed milk to dairy plants where it's being turned into unique grass-fed products such as specialty cheese and butter. Bert Paris is one such dairy producer. He and his family milk a herd of cows on a dairy farm near Belleville. In 1993, they converted the family farm to managed grazing, and in 2006, he partnered with a group of area dairy grazers to purchase a local cheese plant and craft grass-fed cheeses under the Edelweiss Creamery label.
I started grazing, 20 years ago almost, and one of the biggest reasons I started grazing was because I wanted a different way to farm, a different way to milk cows specifically, because I'd gotten tired of driving tractors. So I wanted to do it a different way, and seeing how the cows could go out and just eat the forages on their own just made so much sense to me. So that was a big thing that started it, was to look into the grazing. And then once I started, then it was just, I couldn't hold back. Once I started grazing and saw how neat it was helping me personally, helping the cows. It's evolved to a point where, the cows are so much healthier. It's so much less stress on me, myself, personally, to do this business. It's really a situation where we are allowing the cows to be cows out here. As you can see, they're doing what comes naturally to them. After grazing for 20 years, we could see a difference in our milk, and putting it on the same truck with conventional milk, we just felt, well, that's fine, but we knew we wanted to do something different. We knew that we could make a different kind of cheese. And so a group of farmers, myself and another farmer, we got together and we had this opportunity to start a cheese factory. And it was something we had talked about for a long time, but then the opportunity came along and we were just so excited. We thought, you know what, here's our chance to take our milk, which is so unique because we put so much forage into these cows, and take that and turn it into a great cheese which can create such unique properties and bring something to the consumer that you can't get every day.
The decision to implement managed grazing has led to big rewards for another Wisconsin dairy farm family. In 2000, Mike and Carol Gingrich began to explore making a grass-based cheese exclusively from the milk of their cows. The result: Pleasant Ridge Reserve, arguably the most famous cheese to come from Wisconsin in the last 10 years. Pleasant Ridge Reserve was named the U.S. Champion Cheese in 2003. It also claimed the American Cheese Society's Best in Show title in 3 different years.
We like managed grazing because it's easy on the land, it's easy on the animals, and easy on the farm. What the cow eats is going to affect the flavors in her milk. And if you just watch a cow go out and graze, or when we open the paddock gate and send the herd out into a fresh pasture, you can watch those cows selecting the tastiest forages that are out there. They'll take a bite, and then 2 or 3 steps, and they'll take another bite, and they kind of like a wave, they'll go all the way across the whole pasture, hit the fence line, turn around, and come back and do the same thing. And they'll just do this for, maybe an hour. And then they'll lay down for a couple hours, and they'll get up and do the same thing again. And so they're going through that pasture, really finding the most flavorful forages that are out there. Well, we do about 3 things to really maximize the flavors, the flavor complexity and intensity in the cheese. So first of all, we only use the milk when the cows are on fresh pasture. If they're getting more than about 5 pounds of hay, we just stop making cheese. So we want milk where their forage is virtually all pasture, fresh green pasture. And they do get some grain, but they get about 80% pasture and about 20% grain. So that's the first thing we do. We select the milk. I like to think of it as boutique milk, it's designer milk. And so we select the best milk that we've got for making this cheese. Then we use it very, very fresh. I mean, it's minutes after the last cow's milked in the morning, we start making cheese. I mean, we milk twice a day, so we take the night milk and we cool it, and the morning milk we combine with that night milk, bring it over as soon as the last cow's milked, and make cheese right away. So the milk doesn't have an opportunity to develop any off flavors. We want to use it just super fresh. And then the third thing is that we take it just as it comes from the cow. We don't standardize the milk or do anything like that. So there's a little bit of variability through this season. And of course we age it in caves like this, which also adds to the flavor profile.
Master cheesemaker Bob Wills at Cedar Grove Cheese in Plain, Wisconsin is another Wisconsin cheesemaker using grass-fed milk to create specialty dairy products. He says the unique properties in grass-fed milk lead to unique cheeses.
Grass-fed cheeses are fabulous from so many perspectives. For years, cheesemakers like at our factory have been entering contests with cheeses that are made from grass-fed animals. And those cheeses have been winning awards, but we didn't really tell anybody that secret. Historically, though, all the cows were grass-fed, primarily. The June cheese has always been something that people sought out, and that was primarily because June was when those animals were going out on pasture, and we had that richness of color and things in the cheese, and the flavors are richer. The flavors of the grass-fed cheeses end up being a lot more complex. There's a lot of flavors that come through from the feeds. And the second thing is that it's a lot more variable. So seasonally, and when the weather changes and things like that, we get changes in the flavors in the milks. And it makes it more complicated to make a consistent product. So a lot of it we have to train consumers to celebrate those variations. So they're better for people, better for the animals, which stay healthier, better for the environment. It's pretty much a win-win.
It's the unique properties in grass-fed milk that get chefs excited about working with products made from grass-fed milk. Chefs Leah Kaplan and Jack Kastner have been working with grass-fed cheese, butter, and other products for the past 3 years as part of a grant project facilitated through the Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection. The project aims to develop a definitive understanding of the unique physical, chemical, and flavor qualities of grass-fed milk, as well as develop a strategy for the establishment of a premium market for grass-fed milk products. As part of the project, chefs Kaplan and Kastner evaluated the culinary performance of these products, as well as cheeses made from grass-fed milk in a variety of recipes. Their results are intriguing.
Cooking with them has been a real treat and a great discovery process. Particularly butter, just everything from the texture in baked goods and buttercreams. It's a little bit softer at cold temperatures and just a little bit harder at warm temperatures. So you can get a nice creamy buttercream that doesn't shatter in the refrigerator and has a nice mouthfeel. It's easier to work with when you're whipping egg whites and whipping in the butter, and not to mention the flavor is there's a nice buttery flavor. It's not just the texture of butter. Sauteing with that butter, anything herbal or onion or garlicky, the butter really seems to bring out those green, herbal, grassy flavors. It's a beautiful marriage. It doesn't mask them as sometimes butter does, and it's the same with the heavy cream. Sometimes that just enrobes flavors rather than accentuates them, and with the grass-based products, even though you can't distinctly taste grass in those products, it seems to accentuate those vegetal flavors in other products.
I think the best thing that throughout this project is whenever I can do the two products side by side. So what we do have here is a conventional grain-based milk and then the grass-based milk, and they're both turned into butter. You know, there's just more of a butter flavor. It's a stronger flavor. When you eat it straight, it really is more pronounced. And when you start mixing it with different herbs and stuff, it's almost like you go 1 + 1 = 3. It's like you've got the butter flavor, but then you've got the sage or the basil flavor, but then it seems to heighten flavors. That just right away made me start to think of classical French and Italian cooking, where it's very minimal ingredients. When I, as a young culinary cook, was trying to make chicken Kiev with just straight butter, it was like, what's the big deal? But when you make it with a grass-based butter, then you can understand why those dishes receive their notoriety.
I asked some of our cheesemongers if customers were asking for grass-based cheese or other dairy products, and very few are actually asking for it, but they seem to gravitate toward those cheeses. They just recognize that they're delicious cheese without understanding the chemistry or science behind why. So it's there, and we just need to somehow connect to people what it is that makes those different, and then I think there'll be an instant light bulb that goes off.
It is evident from talking with the state's dairy farmers, cheesemakers, chefs, and consumers that the flavor of grass-fed dairy products is indeed different and distinctive. The next step will be for researchers to evaluate potential markets for grass-fed dairy products and investigate the logistics of pooling, transporting, and segregating this specialty milk. In the meantime, managed grazing will continue to be a growing force in Wisconsin, and with it, a variety of grass-fed milk dairy products.